Hi, guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode. So today we have a special episode that is meant to be a memorial in loving memory of Dr. Steve Weinberg. Steve was one of the original house call vets in Los Angeles. And so today I am actually sharing an interview I did with Steve in March of 2021 as part of the House Call Vet Academy. I had been referring cases to Steve's house call practice, which was called 911 Vets, and then later rebranded as Private Pet Care. And I'd been referring to his practice for years, and we'd actually become friends on Facebook, knowing that we were both musician vets who lived just a few blocks away from each other. But we had actually never met in person until this interview that I'm about to share with you. At the time, I was preparing content for the House Call Vet Academy, my online course. And as I was working on that, I decided to start a series of interviews for the course that turned out to be the precursor for this podcast and the inspiration, basically. So I interviewed around 20 different house call vets at the time in different niches to demonstrate for my course participants all of the ways that we can do this work and to show just how brilliant and how innovative and how awesome the members of our community really are. And so I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to connect with Steve face to face for the first time because of this interview that I did with him and to have a live conversation with him together. So during that conversation, and this is off the record, once the recording was finished, or he might have even told it to me before we started recording, I can't remember now, but he told me that he'd been diagnosed with neuroendocrine pancreatic cancer a few months prior, and that he did not know how much time he had left. And so I was immediately very moved and, just held him close. And shortly after our interview conversation, we started to collaborate musically, and I recorded on flute on a song that he wrote called Legacy that was to come out on his next album. So we ended up becoming really good friends. We spoke on the phone frequently. We had an awesome time recording and playing music together with the help of Steve's son, Zach, who is an incredibly talented professional music producer. And I know Steve is so proud of him. And so Steve sent me a copy of the song In Progress, Legacy, that we worked on together. And it's not complete, but I I have something special for you guys. So I'm going to share that song with you today at the end of this podcast, and you'll get to hear Steve's music. So he wrote this song, Legacy, and the lyrics, and that's what you'll hear today. He'll be playing, he played and recorded on guitar and vocals, and me on flute. I come in about halfway through the piece. I remember him telling me he wanted a Jethro Tull vibe, an Ian Anderson vibe for the flute solo. And he kept telling me to play my solo crazier and crazier. We did a ton of takes, and he wanted, every time he was like, I want it crazier, I want it insane. He wanted the flute part to sound absolutely nuts. And so that's what we did. And we were laughing the whole time in the recording studio. And you'll get to hear kind of what came out. So after we had so much fun and realized we could create a lot more beautiful music together, we decided that we would collaborate again in creating the music for this podcast. So the acoustic guitar music at the beginning and the end that you hear of this podcast, the intro and outro music, that was composed, performed, and recorded by Steve while he was in and out of the hospital in the last few months of his life. So I am beyond grateful that he sent over the parts of the music that he'd finished recording for his own part, and that his kind of musical DNA will always be a part of this project. And so the music he wrote for this podcast is called the song is called Just Trying to Help. And it was meant to be the veterinarian's theme song for the House Call Vet Cafe podcast, as a message to our clients in light of the suicide crisis in our industry. So the plan was that he would layer on mandolin, hammered dulcimer, my playing on flute, house call veterinarian Jessica Fergola would be playing the fiddle, and house call veterinarian Brandy Nunez playing on synthesizer. So we were going to kind of unify our community musically as well, to kind of weave recorded tracks of each of us into the music, one instrument at a time, and we would release those subsequent versions in each episode of the podcast that we released until the music was complete. And that was Steve's idea to do that. So he was incredibly excited about this project, and we've been talking about it every few days for months. He was super excited about being interviewed on the podcast as a regular guest, and he was planning to have his house call practice private sponsor the project even. And he even named our nascent musical ensemble the House Call Vet All-Star Band. So Steve did write out a flute part for me to record just a few weeks before he passed away. He was in the hospital when he wrote it. And he told me, I managed to get this part out to you. It's not perfect, but go ahead and improvise on it and do embellishments on it. And so it hasn't been recorded yet, but I will do that 100%. So you'll get to hear the part that he wrote out for the flute, and we will still get that music out to you guys. I definitely plan to celebrate his life by completing this musical project we started together, no matter how long it takes. And I plan to honor his memory by having him as a guest on the podcast through this interview that we did and recorded almost a year ago. So I feel very blessed and honored to have been able to capture this interview, some of Steve's wisdom and his story. I am so grateful to have had the chance to know him in the last year of his life, and not only as a colleague, but as a friend. And to me, I see him as a manifestation of vision, talent, humor, and true kindness. May his memory and his music be a blessing for all of us in the veterinary community and beyond. Rest in peace, my dear friend.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have with us today Dr. Steve Weinberg. So Dr. Steve is the founder and CEO of Private Pet Care 911 Vet based out of Mar Vista, Los Angeles, and he is literally my neighbor. Dr. Steve has worked in hundreds of vet clinics as a full-time, part-time relief veterinarian and house call vet since 1985. After building a house call practice in San Francisco, Dr. Steve moved back to Los Angeles and in 1997 started a mobile practice in his Venice Beach neighborhood, one of my favorite neighborhoods. And he was at the time known as the vet on rollerblades. I wish I could have seen that. Eventually, his practice became 911 Vets, focusing on urgent care at that time, and has now developed into private pet care 911 Vets, focusing more on general vet care and concierge service with same-day transport of pets for procedures. Dr. Steve's house call service is currently a full-service multi-doctor house call practice, including daytime emergency work, and additionally has cooperative arrangements with trusted local veterinary clinics to provide dental, surgical, radiological, and hospitalization services to ensure continuity of care for his patients. Dr. Steve is also a singer-songwriter and has a band called Anaconda Limousine, where he does vocals, guitar, and we're about to collaborate on a single with me recording flute, which I'm super excited for. We're both in our musical studios right here recording right now. So I'm super excited to introduce you guys to Dr. Steve. I refer to him almost every single day. So hello, neighbor, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Eve. It's very nice to see you and appreciate the interview.
Yeah. So Dr. Steve, could you tell me a little bit about how you got into house call practice? How did this all happen? You're one of the pioneers of the industry in our little micro niche right here.
Well, it started in San Francisco when I was working a very hard job in San Francisco, my first job, and someone asked, "Can you come to my house and dock the tails on our new puppies?" That was the first house call I ever did. And then I started doing a little bit here and there. I had a truck with a a stick shift, going up and down those hills. I learned every single place to park and how to go around San Francisco, and lived there 5 years and was doing that. Eventually, I moved back home, which is LA. My family's here, and was doing relief work, regular full-time work, and eventually restarted the house call practice. That started with, I was working at a cat clinic in Santa Monica, and the lady said, "I have a dog at home could you come and check him out?" Okay, so I went to her house. It was in July, I remember. And this lady was a hoarder. I mean, her chart was this thick. She must have had 15 cats. And the smell of urine was so strong emanating from the house. She was a little old lady, just, "Hi, doctor." I could not breathe. I literally, my eyes were burning from urine.
Oh, God.
And I sucked it up, and I went in the house, and there were cardboard things all over the place with tomcat pee everywhere, and also like bloody pee, and that was from the Cocker Spaniel. So I treated him as fast as I could and left, and that's kind of how I restarted the house call practice.
Great start.
Not going back to her, but started, giving out cards. I said, maybe I'll do this, on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 97.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you actually built two practices from scratch. You had a house call practice in San Francisco, and then you did it again here in Los Angeles. So you're a pro, you've done this multiple times. And so at this point, I know that you're transitioning out of the kind of the 911 emergency sort of aspect of things, but I'm still so curious to know a little bit more about how you got into that, because that is so unique and interesting. And I don't know any other house call vets who even attempted to provide care like that. And you've done that for many years. How did that start, and how did it look for a while, and where is it going now?
I think it's because I'm a rescue archetype like the rest of us. And I sat down with my sort of partner, advisor, and we had the name 911 Vets. Because I was doing house calls at night after work, and found that to be, good revenue. And I think I was just getting married. No, I was already married. We had one kid. And I thought, well, maybe I can transition over. And I still, was working daytime. I was whittling that down to eventually 2.5 days a week to 1 day a week. And eventually I said, I can't work for you anymore, because I make more in a house call than I do sitting here for 8 hours.
Right.
Even though I was
Right.
on percentage and doing all their surgeries, I was burning out. I felt like I wasn't doing my potential, and I was helping.
And this was in 97?
Well, we started
You started
911 Vets,
97.
the name.
Mhm.
I had mobile pet veterinary back then. It was more part-time then. The 911 Vets started in earnest in the early 2000s.
And you were burning out even then, before all the craziness of the, 2010s and 20s and
Yeah, so I wasn't
Early,
really burning
yeah.
out then. I had energy.
Mhm.
I was just a nut. I mean,
Yeah, like all of us,
energetic nut that
Yeah.
would, do 2, 3, 4 house calls during the day. It wasn't terribly hard. I remember the first time I went full house call, and in the past I would, go to lunch and then have to rush back to the clinic, right? For the first time, I would go out to lunch and sit there and go, wow, I can just sit here.
Go to the beach.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to the beach on your lunch break? Because that's what I do sometimes.
I've actually done that when I did relief in Malibu. They have
Yes.
2-hour lunches.
Yeah.
So I'd go to the beach and hang out there. But
That's awesome.
no, now I have no time. If you want, flash forward. But then I would do 1, 2, sometimes, rarely 3 house calls in the evening. And then it became, since we were 24 hours, I had a service answering the phone, and people would call at 3 a.m, and I would, like an idiot, get up and go do, poor dog they wait to the last minute. Dog
Always.
is dying, bleeding out or gasping for air. And I felt compelled to go do that and help them, and did that for many years.
How many years do you think you did that?
The 3 a.m. thing, probably up until, it got really busy between 2005 and 2019. I was doing a lot of it. I started scaling back on the 3 a.m. I said, okay, only up to midnight.
Yeah. It's still very generous hours.
And they would still call me, and I would just not respond, or,
Right.
There came time where people would expect, because they either used me before, their friends said call him, other house call vets said call him, emergency clinics said call 911 vets. So the name 911 Vets, everyone thought, it's emergency only. I would, I would park in someone's driveway or wherever, and the neighbor would say, "What's wrong? Is it an emergency?" "No, we're just giving vaccines." So they're like, "What?"
That's
So
so
I would,
interesting. Yeah.
Eventually, that name, I still have a trademark on it. It's, we're transitioning to private now. So
Private. Yeah. I love that. That's a really cool name. And I'm curious. It sounds to me like it was viable for a very long time. You did it. Do you think that's a viable model for other vets who might be interested in doing an emergency house call practice? Is there interest from the community? Yes, you answered
Are you
that.
kidding me?
Is it sustainable and realistic?
We're still getting calls. We have a service. It's on voicemail, so I'll see all the voicemails. The dispatchers will see the calls that we couldn't do. there is just so much money on the table, especially right now with COVID and people having to wait 8 to 12 hours at the ER, being triaged there, and it's just untenable. There's so much more demand than can be handled by the amount of veterinary care. It's just unbelievable. I think we could have an entire fleet of swing and graveyard shift vets. If they want to do graveyard, I'll hire them.
Yeah.
And you young bucks can go do it. And I'm telling you, we'll get some graveyard techs, and that's a business in and of itself. It would crank.
It would. I mean, I that's one of the reasons I refer to you. I mean, I have the need personally, just of the clients I can't myself help, and I didn't know whether you were 24/7 or not still or whatever. But, for me, knowing that there's a practice that, I mean, I'm kind of bummed that I'm happy for you. I'm really happy for you. And I would never have the fortitude or the young buckness to, as you say, to have ever offered anything like that. So I'm so glad that you're able to kind of set boundaries and kind of scale back a little bit. I'm really happy for you, because I don't know how you ever did it. I'm really glad you did, for my own clients and the people that I refer and have referred to you. But you're amazing.
I'm actually 34 years old, and look at me. No, I'm kidding.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you think this is a viable model for other folks who want to get into this.
If they want to do graveyard and sleep during the day, there's a lot of people that need us. It would open up the doors. I mean, there could be 3-4 vets working for us, or anyone.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night, if you want to be crazy and to do those kind of hours.
Right.
You would just be inundated.
And so how did you know when it was time to expand your practice? I think you mentioned you have 10 employees now and a number of vets working for you. How did you know that moment it was time to start expanding and taking this bigger than just yourself?
I've tried over the years. I had a clinic for 8 years that another stupid, rescue archetype.
Mm-hmm.
I would work in the clinic maybe half the day, go out and do house calls, come back, do another in-house, go home, do emergencies at night. I mean, I don't know why I'm not dead already, but
all of us. Yeah.
It's the amount of sacrifice that vets do in general is just way beyond.
Beyond.
There are MDs that also do the same, but at least they're paid 4 times as much as we are.
That's right.
Thanks to insurance and all that. But when did I know just to expand? I tried, over the years. I would hire a part-time vet. I have relief vets. They would work for a while. It either wasn't for them, or they weren't very good at it, and they just went back to practice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Doing relief. It takes, as you know, a special type of person to be able to do house calls, because you're not handheld at a clinic. You don't have other doctors at your disposal. You don't have a support staff doing everything for you. It's a completely different model, where you are going to rooms 15 minutes, 10, whatever it is, handing the patient to someone else, go to the next one.
Assembly line.
In a house call, you're doing everything there. You're treating, diagnosing, prescribing, and then moving to the next one. It's a completely different model. So, and I preferred that to the 15-minute thing.
Agreed.
Which I did for, I don't know how many years. And I said, this blows, I just.
It does blow. It does. It's like, just hearing you say this, it's assembly line versus handcrafted product. You know, are
Exactly.
we an artisan, or are we, you know, an employee of
Machine.
a machine operators in a sweatshop? You know what I mean?
And you get into the corporations and they're even more like, go, 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 go.
Yes,
Quotas, you know.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
can't imagine being in that.
I hear you. And so kind of a little bit more on how we're, you know, crafting our own thing and doing it our way. You also have a concierge service, and, you know, I have my own concierge service, and there's so many ways to have concierge service. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your concierge service and how you've expanded and you know, kind of how you've shifted these days. And what are you doing now with that?
Well, concierge to me means try to keep the continuity of service. You know, I'm a surgeon. If I feel my good client needs an x-ray, I don't have that in a van. Like a lot of house call vets have the RV, which I've never wanted to do. I don't know. I mean, those are very successful too. I mean, there's room for
Yes.
everybody, but I always wanted to go in the house into use the bathroom, which works fantastic,
It
by the way.
does. It does.
So I felt like, you know, I have friends at first that several clinics that would let me come in, and this is common with a lot of house call vets that want to do a dental or they want to do a surgery. So we offer, you know, bringing the animal there. We have technical services, transport type people that pick them up in the morning for a procedure. So either I take them right away for an x-ray or an emergency transfer to another hospital, or we take them, we schedule something, we take them there, do the procedure, and I'm not doing house calls then, doing a surgery, doing dental work, x-rays, and then bring them home. And people are just, they love that. You know, it's
Oh,
just,
I'm sure.
they don't have to drive 4 ways, especially with COVID. They make you sit there in the parking lot in slot number 2 and don't move and don't leave. And, you know, so it's really, really wanted. It's not, you know, a lot of people don't want to do that. And all economic strata of people are willing to do that for, first of all, their pets' well-being, because a lot of them, as you know, hate travel. Who wants to sit in a car with their antsy cat, you know,
Right.
or dog?
Right.
Someone told me they were sitting in the car and the dog was so nervous and losing their mind, fogged up and
Yeah.
dripping sweat in there. And,
Hot box car.
it's like, you can't roll down the window too much because they'll jump out. And,
Yeah. Well, your clients are so lucky. That's amazing that you provide that level of service, continuity of care, surgery, everything. You really
can't
have
do
it
everyone, but
dialed in.
we do the best we can.
That's fantastic. And I love your take on concierge service, and that's something that I think is important for people to know. There's a lot of interest in concierge service. People ask me about my concierge service every day. How do you do that? What is yours like? And it's very important to know that there's many ways to offer concierge service, and it sort of depends on what your capabilities are, what feels right to you, what your people, your clients are asking for. And so it seems in your practice model, that's a beautiful way to offer concierge service. And I'm going to refer even more patients to you now.
Oh boy, thank
Because
you.
I don't do that in my concierge service, but you do, and that's good. I don't know if you want any more clients right now, but
Well, we take new clients.
still seeing new clients. It's
Sometimes
good.
we don't filter them correctly.
Yeah, that's
We
a
find out
whole
later.
that's a whole conversation for sure,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to talk with you about my system.
Well, the traditional concierge in human medicine is you pay $30,000 a year and you get access to one doctor who orchestrates all the other doctors, which is sorely needed. You
Yeah,
know, you're really on your own for your own care in human medicine, because you could go to this doctor for that problem, this doctor for that problem, and they don't talk.
Right.
They don't consider what they're doing to you.
To you, yeah.
Yeah, they write down all the drugs you're taking, but there's a disconnect. So the
Yeah.
concierge person is kind of like your puppet master or ringleader.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's what's
Yeah.
traditionally meant, an annual fee, a monthly fee, or whatever. And that's what you're doing, I understand, which is very smart.
Thank you.
We try to do that. These, I'm sure you've seen the ones that the veterinary house call corporations that have come and gone. They try to do that. In fact, they started doing a monthly fee, then they cut it out, or they would lower it. And I mean, I don't understand
No
the
point.
economics of that. It makes no sense.
Right. Right. We definitely see eye to eye on some of the corporate house call practices that have been in our neighborhood that have come and gone. And, you know, there's an art and a science to it. We talked about this a little bit. It's art and science. And, you know, there's got to be some heart and soul. It can't just be about the money.
So with our people, I've tried to do independent contractors, send them out, pay them for what they do, and charge the client. I've tried, part-time relief. Now we're just hiring full-time people on a salary with bonus, just like they would in corporate medicine, and offering a better lifestyle than the 15-minute thing, you know.
That's what people want. So shifting gears a little bit, I know that you're also a parent, you have a family, you're also a musician. There's a lot in your life that you are balancing right now. And I'm curious how you run a high level business like this, very successful, high quality medicine. And how do you also balance being a parent, having a family, and being a musician?
Well, first of all, I have a wife that has suffered for many, many years with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
We've been married.
Yeah.
I've known her 25 years. We've been married 23. We have 2 kids who are now adults, and they've all been they've been used to it. You know, Dad's leaving. You know,
Yeah.
Dad's back. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my wife said I always have one foot out the door. I try to spend as much time as I can. We end up, chillaxing, binge watching, shows. And my wife doesn't have an income, but she works at home doing her thing. I try to make as much time as I can for music. There's less and less time because I'm putting more time into building this business. As you know, the administrative side, if you're your own boss, takes up as much time being a vet or more, just trying to keep it going. And that's if people want to get into house call, we hire them. They don't have to do that. They can just be a house call vet and not worry about advertising, marketing, keeping employees happy, blah blah blah. We have a very robust support staff, so that takes away from my music, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do try to make time. My son is a music producer, so he's now in here every day. More, right now he's, they're restarting concerts, so he's an EDM artist, DJ. So they went to the desert this weekend to start up a little 100, 200 people spread out kind of EDM thing, and to reopen that. So he's in, heaven. And I'm very happy to provide that for him. And he didn't want to go to college, so he grew up, in the studio.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I
put him on
love
the drum at
that.
age 1.
Oh,
He is a virtuoso drummer and keyboard player.
oh, that's amazing. Well, he's got a very supportive and outside the box thinker for a dad and parents. So that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I never want to be the guy that was, I can't do it, but I'll, at least my kids can. I didn't want to be, I wanted to be the one that did it.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the rock star. I played in bands.
Yeah.
I put out a record while I was in vet school. I toured Northern California. Came to
Fantastic.
LA, did it again, had another band, or played all over in clubs and did all the doing part-time relief work. And I always thought I'm going to be the rock star.
That's right.
So now I'm just a studio project, which is fine. I have no desire to go on tour or anything. We were having shows with my son as drummer up until 2013, but
fantastic.
He grew up and is doing his thing.
Well, it sounds like you've been an incredible role model. Yeah.
For music, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one last question for you. I'm so inspired by everything you're doing, and I think we all have a lot to learn from you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the participants of the House Call Vet Academy? Any advice for getting started? You've already said that you're hiring, is there anything else that you'd like them to know about either connecting with you or, anything?
I mean, connect with us. I think we'll even hire relief vets now, just like on a regular per diem.
And you're looking to expand as well, not just in Los Angeles, is that right?
Right, we've expanded to Orange County, so we'll be needing another vet there.
San
soon.
Diego?
It's
San Diego?
my COO wants to go bam, 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 here. It's like, okay, well, I'm slow. I'm the brake. He's the accelerator.
Got it.
I'm maybe too much of a brake. I needed that push. It's hard for a vet to change their ways. So just to get a COO, I was convinced by my other support group that I'm part of, you got to get some organization here, blah, blah, blah. And that was a huge step to get that. And so, yeah, I mean, he wants to open one in Thousand Oaks. I think of the slow method. The other corporations that tried this and are still doing it, there's another one that just came out. They're always coming out. There's usually non-veterinarians that see an opportunity in the space, that have money, and
want to take advantage of the hard
work. They throw money
it.
at it, and they'll hire a vet in this city and that city and this city, and blah, blah, blah. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no, quality control.
Right.
And what's the incentive of that vet to even be part of a corporation?
Right.
They can do their own little cottage industry.
That's right.
If you want to do that. I mean, the incentive is, okay, you have a support staff and someone answers the phone, but they fail. They try to expand quickly and they fail. So
yeah, that building organically, I think, is a really nice way to go. And that's how I've done it. That's how you've done it. And I think most of the folks that are still in business after all these years, that's how we've done it. Just natural organic growth. Treat your people
in the
good.
Hair. Tortoise in the hare, right?
That's right. That's right. The tortoise wins the race. So slow and steady. So I think that's some wonderful advice for our folks in the group here. And I thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your experience, and been great to have this conversation. We've never had a face-to-face conversation before. So great to connect with you, neighbor. And thanks again.
Fantastic to meet you and see how you're doing things. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
If I was able to do that, I'd probably do what you're doing. But wanting to help as many people as possible is a fault, or I don't know what. But
I think we all can relate to that.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Dr. Steve. We'll talk soon.
All right, thanks again.
No one is writing what I wanna say. That's fine, I aim to keep it that way. Flames of desire is what life's about. Fuel to their fire, they take my name. Who will tell my story? Poetic abuse of glory. I had to choose a cannonball when any feather could make them fall. I'm the stain that won't come out, pain in your brain you can't wash away. What will I leave behind? Wisdom to whisper through their minds. How you leave a legacy is who you have to be now. It's who you have to be now. By the time you comprehend, I will be dust and sand. I'm the stain that won't come out, pain in your brain you can't wash away. What will I leave behind? Wisdom to whisper through their minds. How you leave a legacy is who you have to be now. Is who you have to be now. What will I leave behind? Wisdom to whisper through their minds. How you leave a legacy is who you have to be